Good day. Let's go over the distributive property and the way it works. So what we have here is a couple of formulas that explain the distributive property. What I suggest you do before we get started is to go ahead and press this video on pause and write these formulas down, because we'll be referring to them throughout this lesson. Okay, so first thing you want to notice is, let's start off with this first one. And this method I'm about to show you applies to all of these. So basically all we're doing is you're just kind of going to throw in this first term to these two other terms. So here you have a times b. Remember, we're multiplying here. A times b gives you the ab. And then you're going to add, because you have a plus sign here, and you just kind of throw in this a to get this AC over here. So that's going to be the same with this other one down here. Basically all you're doing is you're just kind of throwing this letter in this way. So this could be a number or a letter. We're going to do a little bit of both here in a minute. You see a times b gives you the AB, and then you have a minus sign. And you just kind of throw in this a this way. AC gives you the AC. So yeah, that's basically what you're doing. You're just kind of distributing this. This is where we get this name distribution. You're distributing the a to each one of these terms. And this a could be on the other side of what's in the parentheses here. It could be on the right hand side. Same kind of thing. You're just going to kind of drop it in this way. Okay, so you got your AB and your AC. Same here. So you're just distributing it in. Doesn't matter if it's in the front or the rear. This A could be over here. Doesn't matter. So if you had, let's say you had the number 3, and then you had A plus B plus C plus D. Let's say you have 4 terms in parentheses and the number 3. You're just going to do the same thing. You just distribute it that in. So you just distribute it here, 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 and here. So what you get is you get 3A plus 3B plus 3C plus 3D. Okay, just take note of how this works. It's pretty simple. We're going to go over a couple exercises, and if you can, go ahead and follow along. Okay, let's go ahead and start with these 4. So let's go ahead and start with this one up here at the top. So basically all we're going to do is just going to distribute that 6 here and here. So you got 6 times 1, that gives you 6. And then 6 times negative 5m, that'll give you negative 30m. So there it is. Pretty easy, pretty simple, pretty quick. All right, the next one, negative 2 times 1 minus 5v. So you're just going to do like that. Negative 2 times 1 gives you a negative 2. And the negative 2 times a negative 5v gives you a positive 10v. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. You have to include whatever sign is here. So here we have a negative. We're multiplying it. This is an entire term here. It includes the negative sign. So this entire term is a negative 5v. So you get negative 2 times negative 5v. That gives you a positive 10v. Okay, the next one, I'm just going to go ahead and distribute it in. Distribute that number 3. So 3 times 4, that gives us 12. And then 3 times a positive 3r, that gives us a positive 9r. Okay, the next one, we're just going to distribute this number 3 in this way and this way. So 3 times 6r, 3 times 6r, I'll go ahead and write the arrows for you. 3 times 6r, that gives us 18r. And then 3 times a positive 8 gives you a positive 24. Okay, so there we go. There's the answers for the first couple problems. I hope you're kind of getting how this works. It's not really that hard to do. It's just distributing. You're just putting that number, you're multiplying it by each one of the terms inside the parentheses. Okay, next set of numbers. So here we have the first one here, 4 times 8n plus 2. So we're just going to drop that 4 in. So 4 times 8n, that's going to give you 32n. And then 4 times 2 gives you a positive 8. Okay, now this one, the second one, I hope doesn't trip you up. If you see a negative sign by itself, that means it's being multiplied by negative 1. It's not very obvious, but there's always a 1 in front. So you're just going to go ahead and say that's being multiplied by negative 1. If you see a negative sign by itself, it just means negative 1. Okay, so negative 1 times negative 2, and then negative 1 times negative n. So negative 1 times negative 2 gives us a positive 2. And negative 1 times negative n gives us a positive n. So we get our answer as 2 plus n. Okay, next problem. Negative 6 times 7k plus 11. We're just going to drop in that negative 6 this way and this way. So negative 6 times 7 gives us a negative 42k. And then negative 6 times 11 gives us a negative 66. Okay, next one, we're just going to drop in this negative 3 here and here. So negative 3 times 7n gives us a negative 21n. And the negative 3 times 1 gives us a negative 3. All right, this first problem, let's drop this negative 6 in here and here. So negative 6 times 1 gives you a negative 6, and negative 6 times 11b gives you a negative 66b. Okay, next problem, negative 10 times a and negative 10 times negative 5. So we get a negative 10a. Negative 10 times a negative 5 gives you a positive 50. Okay, next problem. Now, when you're doing these, it's not really necessary to draw these arrows. I'm just kind of doing it to help you visualize what's going on. You don't have to draw these arrows in if you're kind of getting how this works. So negative 3 times 1, that gives you a negative 3. Negative 3 times a positive 2 gives us a negative 6v. Okay, here we have the negative 4 times 3x and a negative 4 times 2. That's going to give us a negative 12x and a negative 8. Okay, so there we go. There's our solution set for these next 4 problems. Okay, next set of problems. I want to point something out to you that when it's on the back side here, that this little dot here, this is your multiplication symbol. Okay, that's pretty important because if I just had, a plus b, if I didn't have that multiplication symbol here, then this means this is different. If I put this little multiplication symbol, that's a completely different. It's kind of like the language of math. These, it's like dotting your I's and crossing your T's. That if I don't have that dot, then it means something totally different. Okay, just wanted to point that out. And that if you notice that if it's in front, you don't really need that dot if it's in front, because you kind of automatically know. I mean, I know it's kind of strange if you've never seen it, but this is the way the language of math works. If you see it here out in front, you don't really need that dot. You just automatically know that it's being multiplied. But it's not really so obvious on the trail end. So that's why we kind of include that multiplication sign there. So just wanted to point that out, that if you don't see it, it means something completely different than if that multiplication dot is there. Okay, so since we know it's being multiplied, one thing you could do is if you wanted to, you could move it out to the front. Okay, I can move that -2. I can move it out to the front, it's still being multiplied. And then go ahead and drop it in like we have been here, this way and this way. So we're going to say -2 times 3, that gives us a -6, and -2 times -7k will give us a positive 14k. Okay, next problem. So we got -20 times 8x and -20 times positive 20. So -20 times 8, that's going to give us a -160x. And then -20 times positive 20, that's going to give us a -400. I almost forgot my equal signs there. Okay, so once again, here it is kind of on the back end, and you see that we're going to use the distribution since it has the multiplication sign. So you could either do what I did earlier by bringing it around front. It's not necessary, so here's what it looks like if you don't bring it around front. So we're going to say -15 times 7. So that's going to be 70 and a 35. So that's going to be -105. And then -15 times 19. That's going to be -285b. Okay, last one here. So 14 times x is just 14x, and then 14 times 1 is a positive 14. Okay, let's look at this one. Let's what we want to do here is, I guess we want to simplify, so I'm going to write that out here, simplify. So we want to simplify this entire expression that we got going on here. And we're going to do distribution. So we're going to distribute here, and then we're going to distribute this -1 here. So go ahead and draw those arrows for you. So we get 2 times 3p, that gives us 6p, and then 2 times a positive 5 gives us a positive 10. Okay, now we want to go ahead and distribute this negative. Remember, this is a -1. If you don't see anything here, it's going to be 1. There's always a 1 out front. So -1. Okay, -1 times p gives us a -p. And -1 times a positive 2 gives us a -2. Okay, so now all we need to do is combine like terms. So here we have 6p and a -p. So 6p minus 1p. 6 minus 1, that gives us 5p. And then a positive 10 minus 2. Positive 10 minus 2 is a positive 8. So there we have it. When we simplify this entire thing, a couple steps, this is what we get for our answer, 5p plus 8. Okay, let's simplify this one here. So first thing we notice is that we have two constants and they're in parentheses. So we want to add these two together. I guess that would be our first step. So then we're going to say -2x times 3 plus 2 gives us 5. And while we're at it, we could go ahead and distribute this in as well. So -3 times x gives us a -3x, and -3 times a positive 2 gives us a -6. Now what we need to do is just sort this portion of it out. So you could, I guess it's not really considered distribution because there's not two terms here. So this is just regular multiplication. So -2x times 5 gives us -10x. And then we have the negative 3x and the minus 6. And then all we got to do is combine like terms at this point. So negative 10 minus 3, negative 10x minus 3x. That's going to give us a negative 13x and a minus 6. So there's our final answer, negative 13x minus 6. Okay, let's simplify this next one. So we see here that we have two constants, so we could go ahead and combine those two constants together. So then we have 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then x times 2, that's going to give us 2x. Okay, next we're thinking about these ones here. So here we have 3 times a 2x and a 3 times a positive 1. So positive 3 times positive 2x, that's going to give us a positive 6x. And then 3 times a positive 1 is going to give us a positive 3. Okay, next one is here, the last one. So we have a negative 1. Remember, if there's nothing in front, that's considered a negative 1. So negative 1 times x gives us negative x, and negative 1 times negative 1 gives us a positive 1. Okay, now all we need to do is combine like terms. So we have 2x and a 6x. 2 plus 6 gives us 8, so we have 8x. We have 8x here. And then minus another x, so 8x minus 1x. That's going to give us 7x. And then we have a plus 3 and a plus 1. So 3 plus 1 gives us 4. So our final answer is 7x plus 4. Okay, the last problem here, I just kind of want to show you what happens when you have more than one variable being multiplied together. So we know that our distribution works this way. Okay, so 2x times 3y, that's going to give us 6xy. Okay, then 2x times a positive x, that's going to give us a positive 2x squared. And 2x times 2 is just going to give us plus 4x. Okay, now what you want to do when you see something like this is usually that we take whatever has the highest exponent, and this entire term, that's usually going to be the first term. So here our answer is 2x squared plus 6xy plus 4x. Okay, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like these type of videos, please press the like button, leave a comment. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you.